Happy Friday, everyone. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. Well, the earthquake that kind of shook uh, the Bay Area is shaking the stock market the last couple of days. We'll take a look at what's causing it all. But first, share your screen, take a look at the heat map, which is red for bone chilling. Should call it a chill map today. Um, there are a few healthcare stocks that are up, and most everything else looks red. Few spots of green here and there, and we think that the bonds are going to continue to cause havoc on the markets. So we'll take a look at that in a second. Share the screen if you don't want to suffer with the guns and arrows of outrageous fortune. Stick to an annuity. Once your shares go up, they do not come down in wild markets like we're experiencing. They stay up, and then they go up again, and they stay up, they go up again, and you sleep very peacefully at night. And look over here, they beat index investing by about 5%. How do they do that? They give you a cash bonus in your account. Right now, they're giving between 40 and 45%. And I believe they have a holding period of 7 years, and you often can take up to 10% out per year for needed expenses. So there you have that. Let's share a screen and go to the news. This is Otter Tail Power. This is a typical head and shoulders pattern, looking for further losses. So here's the left shoulder, here's the head, and here's the right shoulder. Is usually lower than the left shoulder, and sure enough, it's heading down. And we clear the screen here. This is UUP. We'll see if it can move higher. This is the dollar index, pulled back to its 20-day moving average, bounced back up. Now it's kind of sitting at its 10-day moving average. We're going to see if it's going to move up here. Wasn't quite a double bottom over here, but still relatively strong against the S&P 500. So let's take a look at some news. Yesterday, Netflix came out and they beat earnings estimates by a big amount, and they gapped up. Huge gap up yesterday. Let's see, they went from 346, 344 at the low the day before, where they closed in the low, and then they went up to a high of basically 409 and closed at 401, and they're trading right around 400 today. So good job, Netflix. And then Tesla missed by about 6 cents. That wasn't the worst of it. The worst of it was Elon Musk was dissatisfied with the Cybertruck coming along slower than anticipated. We've seen a few around town doing some testing, but I guess they're not ready to release them, maybe for another 12 months or so. And you can see the stock gap down over here, and it continues down hard today. It was a bit lower earlier. I believe it went down to 210. I had a put on it, and I took 2 of my 4 puts off today, take some profit. So that's a story there. Let's take a look on what's trending in the news today. Autolive Q3 adjusted EPS $1.66 versus estimate $1.80. Wow, usually that would really send the stock reeling, but earnings up 35%, 17% earnings surprise, and it was down slightly from the high of yesterday, but it gapped up from the low and has just continued moving stronger. Develops and manufactures supplies wide range safety systems to the automotive industry. It is one of the top trending stocks today. A lot of buyers moving in here. Let's move the screen down. Yeah, we can see it's not the highest volume that it's had in a while, but it is pretty strong buying volume here. General Motors and the United Workers are moving toward a tentative agreement that would put an end to major strike that's dragged on for more than a month, according to the top union negotiator, Bloomberg reports. Toyota Motor North America announced it has reached an agreement with Tesla to adopt the North American Charging Standard, NACS, on its battery electric vehicles, BEVs, starting in 2025. The solar area is trending heavily down. Solar Edge gap down. Strong today is down about 28%. Enphase, which had been a leader about a year ago, gap down on the news as well. It's down 15%. First Solar down about 1%. That's almost that is almost going up compared to what the rest are doing. Array Technologies was down heavier before, but is fighting back. And SPWR, SunPower, down almost 9%. So they got poor guidance from analysts moving forward. So that's a big downshift. SLB, Schlumberger is down a little over 2%. Q3 EPS 78 cents versus estimate 77 cents. And on to financials. Bank of the Ozarks. Q3 EPS $1.49 versus $1.42. They moved up earlier and then they just dropped like a rock off the side of the Empire State Building. Yeah, so they were at 38.44 and their last at 35.53. Earnings came in at 38%, 4.62% earnings surprise. Maybe something on the conference call spooked everybody. Regions Financial, Q3 EPS 49 cents versus estimate 59 cents, and people would not like that. That's down a little over 12%. Earnings came in at negative 13%, a negative earnings surprise of 17%. Western Alliance Bank Corp, Q3 adjusted EPS $1.97 versus $1.91. Tried to move up and sold off. Percent change came in at negative 19%, beating by 3%. Earnings surprise. Stocks exposed to cryptocurrencies, including CleanSpark, Coinbase Global, and Riot Platforms rise, tracking Bitcoin price as a digital asset inches closer to 30,000. Clean Spark tried to move up and then sold off. Coin did it virtually the same thing, and Riot tried to move higher, and they sold off as they met their declining 10 and 20-day moving averages. MicroStrategy, which has a lot of Bitcoins in their assets, tried to move higher and then sold off. Take a look at Bitto tracking. See Bitcoin gapped up here, got pretty close to 30,000, and Ethereum moved up as well. We'll take a look at the gold stocks later, gold, silver, and copper. Merck and Daiichi Sankyo agreed to jointly develop, commercialize 3 potential cancer treatments in a deal worth up to $22 billion. Merck will pay Daiichi $4 billion upfront and $1.5 billion in continuation payments, and their stock is up very strong today. And Arcutis Biotherapeutics announces a $100 million common stock offering and said it sees preliminary total revenues of about $38.1 million for a quarter ended September 30th. And their stock is down 18%. Nobody likes to be diluted. Intuitive Surgical. Third quarter EPS $1.46 versus estimate $1.41. Sold off briefly and is fighting back. Our earnings are up 23%, earnings surprise of 18%. And as you can see, everything's relative. It's what people were expecting. Jazz Pharmaceuticals said to explore options, including a sale, to report saying the company speaking with advisors to gauge potential interest. Stock is up slightly on the news. Invitae appointed David Scholler Chief Operating Officer effective November 13th. And their stock is down 8% today. Finally, in industrials and materials, CSX Corporation's quarter 3 EPS in line at 42 cents and revenues of 3.6 billion versus 3.55 billion. Stock is up slightly, close to 1%. Knight Swift shares soar 17% and pull back a little to 10.88%. Quarter 3 EPS was 41 cents versus estimate of 36 cents. People cheered that news. It was an earnings surprise of 15%, even though it was down 68%. Finally, WD-40, quarter 4 EPS $1.21 in line with estimates, sold off pretty strong, bounced off its 200-day moving average. And that's our, we got one more in technology, media, and telecom. Hewlett Packard Enterprises guiding 2024 EPS below the street with non-GAAP of $1.82 to $2.02, below the street of $2.14, and it got sold off pretty strong today. So I believe the only stock we didn't look at that was money was moving into today was Summit Materials, and it's moving up pretty strong, up 3.24%. Earnings supposed to move up 16% this year, 19% next year. So we looked at the winners. Let's take a look at, other than Tesla, what are some of the other losers we got on the agenda where money is moving out of? We looked at the solar stocks. Some of the banks we looked at. Okta provides foundation for secure connections, are down big. It seems like the cyber technology secure software are down today. Let's look at Zscaler gapping down 4.23%. CrowdStrike trying to recover a little bit. It was down to like 177, sold off. And Flex, contract manufacturer of flexible circuits, gapping down 2.28%, huge volume. Maybe somebody knows something. And this is American Express. Their earnings were up 34%, 16.5% earnings surprise, but must have been something on the conference call, but did not meet expectations. So it is selling off hard as well. Interpublic Group, marketing programs through agencies down 2.31%. As we can see, it's continues to trend down. Let's just look at some of the other leading techs. Meta is down a little over 1%, not doing too bad. Who knows, maybe this could be a handle on a cup with a handle base. Microsoft is pulling back down 1.3%. Apple about 1.23%. Google down 1.4%. Saw Netflix was doing pretty well. Nvidia down as well. And it's just down to 1.5%. So we'll see if it can hold above this 403 to 409 area as it's pulling back. So let's take a look at, we looked at UUP, our dollar index, up slightly. Gold tried to break out and is pulling back slightly here. You see we got a number of days in a row, volume has been pretty high. 1, 2, 3, 4. Silver gapped up as well, and it's holding above its 200-day moving average. Copper continues to pull back. Freeport McMoran is falling pretty fast, down almost 4%. And this Canadian copper company continues to move down. This is relatively a penny stock. I think I originally bought this around 85 cents. Kind of follows the other uranium mining companies, and it's moving up, maintaining pretty strong 96% relative strength, up 16% from the pivot in 59 days. Here's a pivot. $1.41 would be the breakout, and it's moving higher. Here's the leader in that sector, CCJ, similar chart pattern, just a little higher dollar amount. So it's a story in that area. And with we want to take a look at the bonds here. Continue to test this 5% area and then pull back. Yesterday at some point, I believe they were up 4.996. This continues to put a lid on stocks and pressure them, especially high-tech commodities or high-tech stocks. Ones that we just looked at, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and the small cap stocks as well. So this is a slight pullback, and the 20-year yield keeps moving up as well. Let's take a look at IWM. Looks kind of like an inverted hammer as it continues moving down. We'll have a look at some candlestick charts on Monday, kind of see if we can project where the market's going in these various indexes. IWM is down 0.9%. Dow Jones down strong as well, 0.7%. Take a look at the VIX. And we were predicting that it would get above 20. Didn't know it would get there that soon, but it is 21 right now, and it yesterday went to a peak of 21.18. S&P 500, much like the IWM, is down about pretty close to 1%. The equal weighted, just a few ticks more at 99, about 1%. The NASDAQ, 1.2% down. And let's take a look at the equal weighted. Take out the big tick names, and it's not too much worse. It's down 1.16. Look at the software ETF. It's down 2.3%, slightly worse. Communication, where Meta and Google are, down only 0.6%. Financials, well, that's pretty ugly, down 1.24%. Biotech, pretty flat, hanging in there. It's a good sign. And the other biotech exhibiting very similar results. Semiconductors down 1.3%. Our high tech down about 1.5%. Pave infrastructure spending is down about 0.8%. Airlines continue to sink on 1.3%. This is a pretty ugly chart pattern here. Where the bottom is, nobody knows. Building and materials down about 1%. Undertakes is 76.72 support. So this will turn into resistance. Once you break support, turns into resistance, and it's harder to break up through this area. Metals and mining breaking down as well, down 1.3%. Home building stocks continue down 1.6%. Take a look at our energy, pulling back pretty well as well, down about 1.5%. And our oil is off a little over 1%. Let's see what our natural gas is doing. It's down so low, it's pretty flat, but pretty close to where oil was, down 1.8%. So that's a look at that area. We've been looking at treasury bills. That's probably your safest bet right now. This gets up around 5%. CDs, treasury bills are probably a good area to put your money if you need the money short term. Bonds are always more risky as they can lose money on even though you're getting a good yield, could lose money on the value of the bonds. They could recall them. So a mixed bond fund, if you're going to go into bonds, is probably a much better place than actually buying bonds themselves. And we'll have a deeper dive into this as we investigate over the weekend. And we'll take a look at those charts on Monday as well. And well, let's take a look at some other of the stocks that we looked at. Duolingo, big sell-off here. Looked like it was going to break out, and with the bonds coming in, big sell-off. Cava Mediterranean Grill, we looked at this here. Had a big sell-off today, but it has recovered. It's got back to its 10-day moving average. So we'll continue to look at that one. I think long-term, this is good once we can get these bond yields under control. This is wow, this biotech really bounced today. A lot of buying in that. BLTE, I said that it had sold off, had gotten the support right around 30 area, pulled back, and now it's working on the right side of the base. We'll see if it can break out above this area. But it's got huge buying volume for the last few days. It's just pretty amazing. All the other kind of stocks that we've been looking at have really lost their edge. It's Crowd, Zscaler. They're all kind of high-tech stocks. Take a look at how the oil stocks are doing. Got a little pullback in Tidewater. Weatherford is pulling back slightly as well. Oil tankers holding up pretty good. Got a little bit of a pullback in international seaways. Frontline. Wow, that's pretty strong. Look at it, broke out over here, and it hasn't looked back. So that's our look today at the market. Once again, the bond yields are front and center, compressing stock prices. Looks like soft landing is in question. The Fed came out with their speech the other day and said they may have to raise rates again. The general consensus is that bond yields will be doing most of the work for them, so they may not even have to raise rates anymore. So it's a continuing story. We'll continue to look at the data and information that comes in. Our government has been overspending, and now they want to send more money overseas to Ukraine and Israel. So as much work as the Fed has done, we'll just see where that goes. This has been Mornings with Michael for information and education purposes only. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll be back here next week to see where all the data brings us and see what other information we have for you. Thanks again. Hope you have a great weekend.